Anthony Davis's time with the Dallas Mavericks might be coming to an end. And honestly, at this point, it doesn't feel like it's a matter of if he gets traded. It feels like when he's going to get traded. Now, as we all know, Nico Harrison is no longer employed by the Dallas Mavericks. He already got fired. And that should tell you everything you need to know about where the Dallas Mavericks are heading. They want to erase this entire Luka Doncic trade from their memory. They already moved on from Luka. Now they want to move the other big piece from that deal, Anthony Davis, and build around their new young star, Cooper Flagg. Right now, AD is hurt once again with an abdominal injury, and he won't be touching the floor until the Mavs owner signs off. And earlier this week, there was tension between AD's camp and the Mavericks about when he should return. Nico Harrison was trying to push AD back onto the court, trying to save his job, but Patrick Dumont, the owner, stepped in and shut it down. Patrick Dumont, Mavericks owner, is saying that they are not rushing AD just so that people can stop calling for Nico Harrison to be fired. And when your owner, who barely knows anything about basketball, is overriding you, yeah, you're gone. Nico Harrison never stood a chance. So where does that leave the Dallas Mavericks? Simple. Rebuild around Cooper Flagg, probably trade both Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving, because the Mavs, they do have a pick in this year's draft, which is pretty loaded, but they don't have another first-round pick until 2031. They should tank this year, because this year's draft class is loaded. They should definitely tank. The Mavericks are currently sitting at 3-10, and they're 14th in the West, and they look like a bottom-tier team in the league. This has been a terrible year for the Mavericks. Injuries hurt, and Cooper Flagg is under so much pressure as an 18-year-old. But here's the tricky part. Dallas needs AD to be healthy enough to raise his trade value, and if he comes back and plays well, he might make the Mavericks start winning games, which could ruin their tank. But if he's hurt, you can't get enough value, so now the Mavericks are in a tough spot. So let's break down the teams that could trade for Anthony Davis from least likely to most likely, and plus, let's just include a why not team at the end. Starting it off, the least likely destination for Anthony Davis are the Toronto Raptors. Now look, the Raptors are involved in every single trade rumor. RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickley, Brandon Ingram, we've seen the Raptors be involved in trade scenarios, and they could be in Anthony Davis talks. A hypothetical trade here probably includes a 3-team deal where the Orlando Magic get involved and the Raptors get Anthony Davis, the Magic get Jakob Poeltl, the Mavericks get Wendell Carter, probably RJ Barrett, and Jonathan Isaac. Honestly, this is not going to happen because the Mavericks, they don't need Wendell Carter, and they don't really need RJ Barrett or Jonathan Isaac here, I feel like, because looking right at it, Wendell Carter's another big. They don't need 3 big men right out there. Jonathan Isaac is mostly just for salary filler, and RJ Barrett's been involved with the Raptors in trade talks for a bunch of superstars, so I'm just throwing RJ Barrett's name out there. This one is really unlikely to happen. My next destination, Minnesota Timberwolves. Look, on paper, this team could look really good. Now look, here's the thing with the Minnesota Timberwolves as my next spot. On paper, yes, AD is a big upgrade from Rudy Gobert. Only problem is, you're probably going to have to include Rudy Gobert and a lot of depth pieces, and there's no shot the Mavericks want to take on Rudy Gobert's contract and then have 3 centers in Gobert, Lively, and Gafford. Now look, I think Daniel Gafford could very easily end up getting traded by the Dallas Mavericks towards the deadline, or maybe really soon the Mavericks could end up actually just trading away Daniel Gafford, but I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. Minnesota does not make sense. They'd be a good team, and Anthony Davis is for sure an upgrade over Rudy Gobert. The fit, I don't see it though. If they can give up Julius Randle and then play AD at the 4 next to Rudy Gobert, I'm all for it. I don't think they give up Julius Randle. I think Rudy Gobert is involved in a trade scenario for Anthony Davis. Coming in at number 5, the next team I think that could be a suitable trade partner for Anthony Davis is the Miami Heat. Now look, the Miami Heat, they've been in talks for trading for a star player for about 5 straight years now. And then defensively, if Miami is to get Anthony Davis, putting him at his comfortable power forward position next to a guy like Bam Adebayo, and the Miami Heat would have a great interior defense. The Heat's interior defense would be amazing with a healthy Anthony Davis right next to a Bam Adebayo type of player. The price would look a lot like this though. I think picks. I think you include Andrew Wiggins in the deal, and then maybe Khalil Ware and possibly Nikola Jovic. I know for a fact Miami does not want to give up Jaime Jaquez Jr., and Dallas is most likely just going to say no anyways to this deal. Even though it is interesting, and I could see the Miami Heat definitely have interest in a guy like Anthony Davis, I don't think this one's going to fall through. Miami, though, with AD, with Bam Adebayo, maybe they actually include Norman Powell in a potential trade deal. But if they were to include him, they're definitely not including Terry Rozier. Maybe he could go from being in the Miami prison to Dallas prison. I have no idea. Terry Rozier is not included in trade talks. I don't think they give up Davion Mitchell. Probably Khalil Ware would be around the centerpiece in that trade, but they didn't want to give up Khalil Ware for Kevin Durant. They're not going to give up Khalil Ware for Anthony Davis. Now this is where I say it starts to get really interesting, because my next team that could possibly trade for Anthony Davis happens to be another team from Texas in the San Antonio Spurs. Now, the Spurs, their guard situation is a little bit shaky because they have Stephon Castle and Dylan Harper, who started off the year as the two starting guards, and they're playing great next to Victor Wembanyama. I've seen some stuff about how a guy on Twitter was talking about when De'Aaron Fox could possibly be traded for a small forward. De'Aaron Fox in this situation could very easily be the odd man out if they want a long-term backcourt identity, because the Spurs, they could easily get Anthony Davis. They center around a package with De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox is a pretty solid fit next to Cooper Flagg, in my opinion. They'd probably give up some first-round picks, Julian Champagnie, De'Aaron Fox. That's what's being sent to Dallas, and in return, the Spurs get AD. Defensively, best duo in the league for sure. San Antonio would have the best defensive duo in the league with Anthony Davis playing his comfortable power forward position next to Victor Wembanyama. They'd easily be the best duo. This one is really sneaky. This would put the Spurs over the hump, in my opinion, in the West, but I don't know if it's realistically going to happen. Right now, some of these are some realistically not going to happen type of trades. The Spurs one is just becoming a little bit interesting. It's not realistic, but it's an interesting possibility to think about. There's no shot the Mavericks want Harrison Barnes in a deal. So the Spurs are one of those watch-out teams. Maybe they can pull off something. Next team up, I've got the Chicago Bulls. Anthony Davis is from Chicago. This makes a lot more sense. The Bulls got off to a great start this season, and Anthony Davis could be a nice fit next to this team. He could be that veteran to help out the young guys for sure. Now, Kobe White, he has gotten better the past few years. He probably gets involved in this deal, though. Kobe White's going to get involved in this deal. Nikola Vucevic, I don't see it happening. And Matthias Buzelis, Josh Giddey, those guys are pretty much untouchable in any single Anthony Davis trade package. I think the Bulls would probably trade Kobe White, Patrick Williams, 2 first-round picks, a max, for Anthony Davis. Kobe White is a good fit next to Cooper Flagg. And Chicago can finally get a true superstar. They can finally get over that play-in hump with a healthy Anthony Davis. They could probably be a top 7 team, top 8 team in the East. They'll make the playoffs. They'll be in the play-in. I think they actually get out of the play-in tournament, though, with a healthy Anthony Davis. Or maybe they'd become a top 5, top 6 team in the East. Now, this is the team that I think will trade for Anthony Davis. My next team up, I got the Detroit Pistons. I think this is the most likely destination for Anthony Davis. And I think this is the trade that actually happens at least before the trade deadline. Right now, the Pistons are number 1 in the East. With a healthy Anthony Davis, this could push them over the top, and the Pistons are a legit title contender if they get a healthy Anthony Davis. And the trade would not be anything crazy whatsoever. The Pistons, we know, they get Anthony Davis. The Mavericks, they get some picks, they get Isaiah Stewart, they get Jaden Ivey, and they get Tobias Harris, just so the salaries can match. Now here are some concerns I have about this deal. The Mavericks already got 2 centers. Isaiah Stewart coming in, this is going to be really odd for them. Now, Pistons fans, they also love Jaden Ivey. Tobias Harris, nothing big out of him. He's basically just there for a salary filler. I don't think it would be that bad if they end up giving up Tobias Harris. Jaden Ivey, though, a bit concerning. Isaiah Stewart, again, Mavericks having so many centers on that team. But for the Pistons, if they actually pull this off, having a big 3 of Cade Cunningham, Anthony Davis, and Jalen Duren, the upside is crazy. I think the Pistons are the most motivated team here. They have the best fit. They can probably give up the most realistic trade, and Anthony Davis fits in with this Pistons roster the best. And finally, let me just include this team. Let's just mention it, because this deal is not going to happen at all. And if this does happen, I'm going to give a random person $100. But let's just say hypothetically, the Los Angeles Lakers are to be involved in a trade deal for Anthony Davis. It's not going to happen, and if it does, I'm going to give a random person $100. Thinking about this, the idea of having a team with Luka Doncic, Austin Reeves, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis would be hilarious. This might actually be a championship-worthy team if everybody stays fully healthy. Now, for this to happen, they're probably going to have to trade a ton of bench players, or they might just include a few less players, but they're probably going to include Austin Reeves in that deal, and that's not going to happen right away. If the trade package has to do with Austin Reeves, the deal is not happening whatsoever. The Lakers did not want to include Austin Reeves for any Luka Doncic trade packages, so they are definitely not going to do it for Anthony Davis. Still, it'd be fun to watch. My final thoughts here, Anthony Davis is going to be traded. The question is, when will he get traded? And based on the current situation in Dallas, injuries, disagreements, a fired GM, and now a rebuild around Cooper Flagg, the writing is basically on the wall. Let me know in the comments which team you think should trade for AD and what I missed. I might even drop a video next week about whether the Mavericks could trade Kyrie Irving too, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and follow me on TikTok, Young Baller Talks, same account name, where I post more daily short videos every single day. Basketball, football, a bit of hockey, some college sports here and there, and I'll catch you in the next one.